Base set era. While Japanese collectors had been enjoying Pokemon cards since 1996, the Western world had to wait until 1999. Nintendo partnered with Wizards of the Coast, the same company behind Magic the Gathering, to publish the first English Pokemon cards. As a result, this era is also commonly referred to as the Wizards of the Coast era. Base set established the iconic look that many still associate with Pokemon cards today. Thick yellow borders, simple layouts, and bold, colorful energy symbols, though hypermodern cards no longer follow most of these trends. The artwork often directly used Ken Sugimori's original designs from the Game Boy games, creating an instant connection to the video games that were already incredibly popular. Base set is also known for its multiple printing editions. The main three variations are First Edition, Shadowless, and Unlimited prints, though there are multiple smaller variations amongst these. The holographic cards of this era featured a distinctive galaxy pattern that sparkled across the artwork. Pulling a holographic Charizard was the ultimate thrill, a card that would become the most iconic in Pokemon history. Between 1999 and 2003, Wizards released 15 core sets, starting with Base set and culminating with Skyridge. Along the way, they introduced Jungle, a smaller set of 64 cards. Next came Fossil, which introduced prehistoric Pokemon like Aerodactyl, Kabuto, and Kabutops. Team Rocket was the first set of the 2000s, which gave us dark variants of familiar Pokemon. Gym Heroes and Gym Challenge introduced Pokemon belonging to various gym leaders from the anime. The Neo series was the first to include the new Generation 2 Pokemon, which brought with it baby Pokemon and light variants for the first time. Legendary Collection came next, and with it a major shift in pack contents still felt today. This set introduced the very first reverse holographic cards. It's best remembered for the unique fireworks pattern that has still never returned, and likely never will. And finally, the E-Card series, comprised of Expedition, Aquapolis, and Skyridge, added e-reader functionality to cards. Today, these sets are among the most valuable and rare from the WotC era, especially Skyridge, due to their limited print and age. During the Wizards of the Coast era, collectors got their first taste of ultra-rare variants with Shining Pokemon in Neo Destiny, which featured alternate shiny coloration, and Crystal Pokemon in Aquapolis and Skyridge, which had unique multi-type properties and stunning holographic patterns. Due to the rapid production and early printing processes, error cards were common during this era. Cards with missing rarity symbols, misprints, and miscuts have become highly collectible for a subset of the hobby. This era came to an end in 2003 after disagreements between Wizards of the Coast and Nintendo. Nintendo opted to bring production to the recently formed Pokemon company, who has been producing the cards ever since. EX series era. This era begins as one of transition. The Pokemon Company immediately implemented a cleaner, more modern card design. The EX series spanned 16 total sets from 2003 to 2007, beginning with EX Ruby and Sapphire and concluding with EX Power Keepers. The first set of this era, EX Ruby and Sapphire, introduced a brand new generation of Pokemon as well. Along the way, this era produced unique themes like Team Rocket Returns, which revived villain-themed cards, and the Delta Species and Holon Phantom sets, which explored alternate reality Pokemon variations. The defining feature of this era was the introduction of Pokemon EX cards, powerful versions of familiar Pokemon with more HP and stronger attacks. Perhaps the most coveted cards of this era were the Gold Star Pokemon. These ultra-rare cards depicted shiny Pokemon, marked with a gold star symbol in their name. Finding one was exceptionally difficult, appearing in roughly 1 out of every 2 booster boxes. Today, gold stars like Rayquaza, Charizard, Espeon, and Umbreon remain among the most valuable Pokemon cards ever printed. One of the most creative concepts introduced during this period was Delta Species Pokemon. These cards featured Pokemon with unexpected typings, like an electric-type Charizard, creating visually distinct variants that collectors and competitors alike eagerly sought out. This era also marked the beginning of the Pokemon World Championships as an official competitive event in 2004, leading to the creation of special commemorative cards and products that would become collector's items in their own right. By the end of this period, the Pokemon TCG had established itself as more than just a fad and had built a foundation of serious collectors who appreciated the game's growing complexity, variety, and visual appeal. Diamond and Pearl era. The Diamond and Pearl era introduced yet another cleaner, more structured card layout with revised fonts, energy symbols, and a sleeker overall appearance. Every Pokemon also now featured a level designation, adding a bit of extra flair. The Diamond and Pearl era consisted of 11 main sets, beginning with Diamond and Pearl base set in 2007 and concluding with Platinum Arceus in 2009. Each set built upon the world of the Sinnoh region from the video games, incorporating legendary Pokemon like Dialga, Palkia, Giratina, and ultimately Arceus. The signature mechanic of this period was Pokemon Level X, which replaced the EX cards of the previous era. These were special level up cards that sat on top of an existing Pokemon of the same name, creating an enhanced version with better attacks or abilities. The unique styling and holographic borders made them instantly highly sought after and coveted. In a nod to nostalgia, the Stormfront set included reimagined versions of base set cards like Charmander, Charmeleon, and Charizard, creating a bridge between the original and modern eras of collecting. With the release of Platinum base set, we saw the introduction of SP Pokemon, special cards with a distinct visual style tied to various figures in the Pokemon world like Team Galactic, Cynthia, and the Elite Four, to name a few. The final set, Platinum Arceus, featured an innovative concept where multiple Arceus cards were printed with different typings, each offering unique powers and abilities. This creative approach to the mythical Pokemon provided collectors with a rainbow of variants to hunt down and bolstered the existing love of Arceus. Heart Gold and Soul Silver era. While not typically thought of as a full era, the Heart Gold Soul Silver series deserves a brief mention as it doesn't quite fit in the eras before or after its release. This series brought a visually distinct few sets tied directly to the Heart Gold and Soul Silver Nintendo DS games. This period lasted just over a year and only spanned 4 sets, but introduced some of the most beautiful card designs in the TCG's history, and is fondly remembered as a throwback to the first 2 generations of Pokemon with some of the best pull rates of any series ever released. The most ambitious collector's items of this era were the Legend cards, powerful Pokemon split across 2 cards that had to be placed together to form a complete image. These cards featured panoramic artwork that spanned both cards, creating stunning display pieces when completed. This era also introduced Pokemon Prime cards, which replaced Level X as the chase cards. Primes featured shiny foil borders, intense close-up artwork of Pokemon's faces, and powerful abilities. Notable examples like Gengar Prime, Umbreon Prime, and Tyranitar Prime quickly became collector favorites. This era was notable for bringing back double colorless energy for the first time since the base set, creating a tangible link to the earliest days of the TCG. Though brief, the Heart Gold Soul Silver era left a lasting impression on collectors, and its aesthetic decisions influence card design even today. For many, this brief period represents the last of the vintage card style for the chase cards, as Pokemon began to take a slightly more linear path forward. Black and White era. The Black and White era has 11 sets released between 2011 and 2013 and is a rather pivotal point for many reasons. These sets created the template for modern Pokemon card collecting by establishing the tiered rarity system of regular rare, holo rare, ultra rare, and secret rare. Set contents were even more organized than before, with the numbering scheme now grouping each Pokemon type and leaving the biggest, rarest hits to the end. It also saw the Galaxy holographic foil relegated to promo cards only, where the sets themselves now featured a horizontal lined holographic pattern. Black and White also saw a return of Pokemon EX. These weren't like the lowercase EX cards from the early 2000s though. They were now basic Pokemon with massive HP and devastating attacks. Cards like Mewtwo EX, Darkrai EX, and Rayquaza EX instantly became coveted collectibles. Black and White era also revolutionized card collecting by introducing full art cards. These stunning variants extended the artwork across the entire card, with minimalist text and a textured surface that had to be seen and felt to be fully appreciated. Full art EX cards and full art supporter cards created a new tier of rarity for collectors to chase, something that still holds true today. The era expanded the concept of secret rares with gold bordered item cards like the Ultra Ball, complemented by shiny Pokemon variants in sets like Dragons Exalted. This era concluded with Legendary Treasures, a celebration set packed with reprints from previous Black and White sets, plus the special Radiant Collection subset. This mini set featured unique pink-themed holographic patterns, creating an entirely new aesthetic for collectors to appreciate. The latter half of the era focused heavily on Team Plasma, with cards affiliated with the villainous team receiving distinctive blue borders and special support cards. The unique coloring on these cards allowed for an even more unique holo or reverse holo look if you were lucky enough to pull one. The Black and White era maintained the standard of 10 cards per pack, including a guaranteed reverse holo and a rare slot that could contain a holo, EX, or full art card. The odds of pulling an ultra rare were approximately 1 in 6 packs, a slight drop from the Heart Gold Soul Silver sets, which felt much easier to hit high tier holos and primes. XY era. The XY era took what had worked so well in Black and White and built on it heavily. With 13 sets released between 2014 and 2016, Pokemon EX stuck around and a brand new Mega Pokemon EX was introduced, reflecting the new mechanic of Mega Pokemon from the main series games. Cards like M Charizard EX, M Rayquaza EX, and M Gardevoir EX featured dramatic artwork that extended across the card, often with powerful holographic patterns that made them instant centerpieces in any collection. We received yet another new holographic foil pattern, this time a more flat, sheen hollow. While some preferred this style to the previous due to the increased visibility of the background art, others felt it was often hard to tell the difference between a regular rare and a holo rare. Full art cards evolved during this period, with more textured patterns, vivid colors, and artistic styles. The EX and MEX full arts often featured stylized, gold-accented designs that became the standard for premium Pokemon cards. About halfway through this era, Breakthrough and Breakpoint introduced Break Evolution cards. Breaks are unique, horizontal cards that represent powered-up forms of familiar Pokemon. Their unusual orientation and gold metallic sheen made them very different from anything we'd seen before, but unlike the Legend cards from Heart Gold Soul Silver, these were not very well received. However, this further demonstrated Pokemon's willingness to try new things and respond to their audience about what works and what doesn't. Primal Clash and Ancient Origins introduced ancient traits, special powers printed directly on the cards above the artwork. Pokemon with these traits often had expanded artworks, a bridge between the standard card and a full art. Some cards became particularly valuable due to their utility and scarcity. Roaring Skies' Shaman EX skyrocketed in value, becoming one of the most expensive modern cards of its time simply because of its gameplay power combined with limited availability. Special sets like Generations celebrated Pokemon's 20th anniversary with incredible artwork and a nostalgia-driven set list. The Radiant Collection subset within Generations featured character-centric artwork and unique holographic patterns similar to the legendary Treasures Radiant Collection, yet still wholly unique. XY overall was well received, and XY Evolutions capped off this era with another nostalgia-driven release, capitalizing on the renewed interest in Pokemon following the success of the Pokemon Go mobile game, which released just a few months prior. Sun and Moon era. Sun and Moon attempted to continue building out new mechanics and styles to varying degrees of success. Throughout 2017 and 2019, 16 sets would be released, and with them we would be introduced to Pokemon GX. These new Ultra Rares took over from Pokemon EX and Mega Pokemon EX. Pokemon GX are known for their slim silver borders with a black outline. They were also notoriously off-center, as quality control seemed to take a dive during the Sun and Moon era, meaning chase cards from this era grading a 10 were increasingly rare and valuable. Sun and Moon also dramatically expanded their rarity options with the new introduction of Rainbow Rare or Hyper Rare cards. These fully holographic rainbow-colored versions of GX Pokemon became the ultimate chase cards of their sets. When the Team Up set was released, the concept evolved further with Tag Team GX cards, a new highly sought-after style of card featuring 2 or 3 Pokemon teaming up with enormous HP and powerful attacks. Cards like Pikachu and Zekrom GX, Reshiram and Charizard GX, and the trio of Arceus and Dialga and Palkia GX became some of the most impressive cards ever printed, both visually and in terms of power level. Despite this, Pokemon was in a sort of dead zone, and sets like Team Up had their print runs cut short, as products kept sitting on shelves unsold. Today, these sets are incredibly desirable and increasingly rare and expensive due to this fact. The full art trainer card concept expanded significantly, with popular characters like Lily, Guzma, and Cynthia receiving beautiful collector versions that often became more valuable than many of the Pokemon cards themselves. Unique mechanics like Prism Star cards introduced special cards with distinctive holographic patterns. Examples like Ditto, Tapu Koko, and Arceus created targeted collector quests within larger sets. The pinnacle of collecting during this era came with special sets like Hidden Fates, which introduced the Shiny Vault. The Shiny Vault is a concept that has since returned in various forms and remains a fan favorite. It's a subset featuring shiny versions of popular Pokemon. This concept, borrowed from Japan's GX Ultra Shiny, created a collecting frenzy and set the precedent for future shiny hunting special sets. Unique theme sets also appeared, like Detective Pikachu, which used 3D rendered artwork to match the film's aesthetic, offering collectors something completely different from the standard sets. The era concluded with Cosmic Eclipse, a fan favorite set that introduced character rare cards, regular Pokemon paired with trainers in charming, slice-of-life illustrations. This artistic direction would prove immensely popular and influence future sets, though noticeably with a brief gap. The Sword and Shield era. The Sword and Shield era kicked off in 2020 and ended early in 2023 after 17 total sets were released. This era was pretty experimental, but would ultimately become the most commercially successful period for the card game. Part of this is due to the fact that it was during the global pandemic, and thanks to lockdown, people were devoting more time and money to their hobbies. Sword and Shield introduced Pokemon V as the new premium type, replacing GX cards. These powerful basic Pokemon featured a distinctive V emblem and continued the tradition of high HP, high attack chase cards that had become a staple of modern collecting. Sword and Shield also introduced VMAX cards, which was based on the Gigantamax mechanic from the video games. These are V Pokemon with massive HP values and giant imposing artworks. Cards like Charizard VMAX, Pikachu VMAX, and Eternatus VMAX became instant collection centerpieces. Brilliant Stars introduced V-Star Pokemon, which was a middle ground between V and VMAX Pokemon. These cards had distinctive star patterns and unique V-Star powers, and some of the most popular V-Star cards were Arceus and Charizard. The holographic pattern changed once again, and it was now back to a subtle, lined vertical pattern. Pokemon started experimenting with the release of the Vivid Voltage set, and while most people remember it for the Rainbow Chonkachu, Vivid Voltage also gave us the first experiment of the era with the Amazing Rare. Amazing Rares were pulled from the reverse holo slot and featured fan-favorite Pokemon with a unique, abstract rainbow-colored background. Shining Fates, which aimed to be a sequel to Hidden Fates from Sun and Moon, also featured a few Amazing Rares. Despite a fairly positive reception, Pokemon decided this wasn't the direction. The next experiment, though, changed everything, and that was with the release of the Battle Style set, which introduced alternative art cards. These were special variants of V and V Max Pokemon, featuring unique, story-driven illustrations that departed completely from the standard artwork. Cards like Umbreon VMAX Alt Art, Rayquaza VMAX Alt Art, and Giratina V-Star Alt Art became some of the most valuable modern cards ever produced, often selling for hundreds or even thousands of dollars shortly after release. The reception to alt arts was so great that it continues to influence set design today. And the experiments continued. Brilliant Stars revived and expanded Cosmic Eclipse's character rare concept with the Trainer Gallery. This subset featured Pokemon alongside trainers in everyday situations. These cards quickly became fan favorites for their charming full card artwork. One thing that made these cards so successful is that they could be pulled from the reverse holo slot. This meant that pulling a cool Trainer Gallery card didn't take away from the possibility of also getting a V or V Max card. This means that the hit rate was higher and people were happier. Pokemon also celebrated its 25th anniversary during Sword and Shield, and so they released the Celebrations mini set in 2021. This was a classic collection subset that had reprinted iconic cards like base set Charizard, Umbreon Goldstar, and Shining Magikarp, all with a special 25th anniversary stamp. The Sword and Shield era concluded with Crown Zenith, a special set featuring the massive Galarian Gallery subset of character cards and reprints, providing a celebratory send-off to the Sword and Shield era. This period is widely considered a golden age for Pokemon card collecting, with unprecedented variety in card styles, rarities, and artistic approaches, creating a collector's paradise despite challenges in product availability during the pandemic-driven TCG boom. The Scarlet and Violet era. Scarlet and Violet is the current era, beginning in 2023 with 16 sets released, beginning with Scarlet and Violet base set and ending with a dual release of Black Bolt and White Flare. The most noticeable change was the shift to silver borders, finally unifying the international card design with Japanese cards, although the backing still remains the same. The entire layout received a modern overhaul, with repositioned elements, more readable fonts, and clearer energy symbols. The lowercase EX designation has returned, but with a modern implementation. These new Pokemon EX cards balance power with the need for evolution, walking back some of the basic dominated power creep of previous eras. Cards like Gardevoir EX, Miraidon EX, and Charizard EX became the new chase cards for collectors. The terastallization mechanic from the video games was incorporated with Terra Pokemon EX, which featured unique crystalline patterns and special abilities, tying the cards closely to the game's distinctive new feature and offering a touch of visual variety to the Pokemon EX cards. The Paradox Rift set introduced ancient and future Pokemon EX, thematically tied to the Paradox Pokemon from the games, and these cards featured distinct visual elements for primitive and advanced variants of familiar Pokemon. The rarity system was also completely overhauled for the first time since Black and White, which was much needed to account for all the new styles of cards. To keep things brief, the main highlights are illustration rares are the successor to character rares, special illustration rares are the successor to alt arts, and hyper rares are the new style for gold cards. One thing you might notice missing is rainbow rares. Pokemon opted not to bring rainbow rares into the new era, as alt arts had overtaken as the main chase cards, and rainbow rares had fallen out of favor. The Scarlet and Violet era has proven to be one of the most popular ever. While in the midst of yet another massive market boom following the hype behind Prismatic Evolutions and its highly coveted Evolution SIRs, even the less popular sets are quickly scooped off shelves. With a Team Rocket themed set and a black and white throwback special release rounding out this era, we find ourselves in the middle of nostalgia heaven. While products may be hard to come by at MSRP, especially for the most sought after sets, Pokemon remains committed to reprints and restocks to do what they can to ensure those who care, those who really enjoy the cards, can do just that. Mega Evolution. Coming fall of 2025 will be a new era, the Mega Evolution era. Not much is known about this era yet at the time of writing, but we do know there will be a return of Mega Pokemon EX. We expect to see new and returning Mega Evolutions across a handful of sets during this era, following similar trends and styles to the Scarlet and Violet era.